it's Christmas Eve, and I've got a very special video where I'm going to talk about the 7 Christmas movies that I watch every single year, and I'm going to rank them from the worst to the best. Now, granted, this is just a very personal list of the 7 that we watch, and at least one of them is definitely not good and does not deserve to be rewatched every single year. But hey, somehow it has worked into our family tradition. So before I start diving in and ranking for some reason these 7 movies, give me what movies you watch down below in the comment section. What every single year, what movies does your family watch? Do you watch personally that you just have to watch, or it's not a Christmas season yet? And then also, stick around to the end of this video. Later this week, I'm going to be filming my best and worst of the year lists, and I would love to get your take on it. So if you can go on the Stardust app and kind of post your reactions to the best and worst movies of the year, I'd love to include your pretty face, and you can find out how to do that at the end of this video. With that said, let's get started talking about these 7 movies that my wife and I watch every single Christmas. Coming in at number 7 is 4 Christmases. This is not a good movie. Most people kind of hate it. I don't even know how it actually became one of our family traditions to rewatch 4 Christmases every single year. It's probably entirely based around the cast of this movie. There's so many people I just love to see, whether obviously the 2 leads being Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon, but then you got Jon Favreau thrown in the mix. I mean, the whole movie's just kind of filled with fun actors playing ridiculous characters. Now, the movie itself doesn't really bring about the most Christmas spirit, given that it's a movie about 4 Christmases, given that our 2 leads, played by the 2 people that I just said, yeah, I love this movie because, or I love to watch this movie because of these 2 people. They're playing incredibly selfish people that have horrible attitudes, that are like don't like their families, don't like Christmas, don't like marriage, don't like children. It kind of kills the vibe of the mood every year we watch it. It's like we put it on like, oh yeah, 4 Christmases, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, they're really unpleasant people. But like I said, we all have our weird traditions that kind of trickle into our lives, and somehow 4 Christmases have got a stranglehold, just like Jon Favreau does on Vince Vaughn in this movie, onto our marriage, and this movie makes its way in every single year. It's not Christmas until we rewatched 4 Christmases, so that's what we did. 2 nights ago, rewatched it, and once again I was like, oh yeah, this is an amazing cast with a great concept for a show or for a movie. It does not capture the Christmas spirit. It has some very incredibly unlikable leads in it. But, I mean, it really does make me laugh. There is plenty of stuff in it that I really do enjoy. There's just a side to it that, why would you go make these 2 people so unpleasant? Anyway, there you go. Somehow it made it on this list for my family. Coming in at number 6 is going to be The Santa Claus. So I was old enough that I'd actually see this one in the theater. This one wasn't part of my family tradition growing up. I mean, I probably didn't even see this movie until I got married, and I guess it was part of my wife's tradition. She's a couple years younger than me, and then her brother is 5 years younger than me, in which case he would be the perfect age to rewatch The Santa Claus every year. And so then that one slid into our family tradition of watching The Santa Claus every single year. And I don't mind this one. It's not one that I, love or like get excited about, like pretty much the rest of this list. But it's not a bad movie. And now that I have kids, it's a nice little addition into the mix. There's some nice little humor in there for them. It's actually a lot darker as soon as you start thinking about it. The plot line of it involving Tim Allen accidentally scaring Santa Claus literally to death, and then the plot line as it progresses with legal trouble and child custody and believing he's insane, all sorts of things that are a bit heavy kind of for a children's movie. But so I showed it to my kids the other day. They were fine. They weren't traumatized by it at all. But yeah, I really like Tim Allen. He's one of those guys that I enjoy him as a comedic actor more so than necessarily a lot of the roles that he's taken. But so he's great to see on screen, and the whole thing's pleasant enough, at the same time not being one that, if it wasn't part of my wife's tradition, probably wouldn't be part of my tradition. However, for our top 5 on here, they're all ones that I love myself. Coming in at number 5 is Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. So for me, I am the perfect age for the first 2 Home Alone movies. I'm like a year, 6 months younger than Macaulay Culkin. It's a movie designed for that target age range. So when Home Alone, the original one, came out, I mean, it was the greatest thing that I'd ever seen in my entire life. And so, actually, we'll get to that one in just a little bit. But likewise, when the sequel came out, it was also the greatest thing that happened in my entire life. And my wife being just a couple years younger than me, also the perfect age for her. And so this movie, it's kind of in many ways the typical Hollywood rehash type sequel where it's more of the same and it kind of goes beat by beat through the first movie, except in a different location. And instead of him being home alone, he's not home at all. He's off in New York. But it kind of finds a way to, he has a disagreement with his family involving his brother getting away with stuff. He meets an older person that freaks him out. That turns out that they have a warm heart. These two guys that make no sense to be in New York City just happen to be where he's at when he shouldn't be there. And they try and get him. And then it follows beat by beat. But it's an example of doing it right. It still has the magic. It still has the charm. And so it just kind of works. It pulls off this whole thing of repeating what we saw before, but loving it. And so I know plenty of people that have been like, oh yeah, Home Alone 2 is definitely better than the first one. Obviously, it's not as original as the first one, but they found ways to kind of up the game. And so our big conclusion at the end with the traps, it's longer, it's more violent, it's more extreme, and so it's even funnier. You throw Tim Curry into the mix, Rob Schneider into the mix, and just some nice elements. He's got the talk boy. President Trump makes an appearance in the movie. So just a bunch of things that just make for a great sequel, even though it's kind of doing that Hollywood cliche rehash thing. Still, I mean, just such a fun movie. My kids love both of these first two Home Alone movies. It's actually made it a ton of fun to have kids, and these movies that were so important to my childhood, they're the movies for my kids now. And we showed them a bunch of different stuff, but they want to watch Kevin in Home Alone. And that's a really neat thing to have happen. I actually did some reactions to them. I'll try and put the links up here to them watching the Home Alone movies and then just dying laughing last year. At number 4 is A Christmas Story, another Christmas classic with just, it's like a movie that's just memorable scene, quotable quote from beginning to end. I mean, it's just all of these little stories, and I guess it's based off, I don't know if it's a radio show or the writings of this one guy, and he's just kind of recalling these little anecdotes from his childhood. And they're all really funny, and they're all relatable in their own ways while being very detached kind of from maybe your exact experience, but they have a familiar family relatability to them in the innocence of a child, the dreams of a child, the way parents interact and the weird little quirks in families that just makes it, I mean, of all the movies on this list, the most relatable. So it's one of those ones that is kind of timeless. It's 35 years old now, something along that, maybe a little bit more than that. And it just kind of connects with people and continues to do so. And it makes sense that you play it all day Christmas Day because it's one that Christmas Day as a family, you can pop it on. And whether you're my age in your 30s, a little kid, or even older, it's a movie that you can just watch it and be like, yeah, family Christmas is there, wild and crazy. And there's so much to laugh at, to have fun with, to feel the emotions about for this movie. And it's interesting also because it's a movie that at the center of it, there's not really a strong plot to it, and you don't care. And it's not like the movie's hurt by the fact that the plot is really just a kid wanting a BB gun for Christmas. That's the entire plot of it, and then the resolution to that. But it's just the build up to it, and that is relatable. That's something that we can all kind of feel that sort of sense. So there you go. At number 4, A Christmas Story. At number 3, and this is where it starts getting really tough for me, is Elf. I absolutely love this movie. I think that this movie is a special film that, I mean, obviously people love it, quoted, all that fun stuff. But to me, it's like I can't believe how funny, rewatchable this movie is. And I think I saw it 4 times in the theaters or something like that. Had people over afterwards, made them spaghetti and then put syrup on top of it. And then they left angry with me, unfortunately. And I lost all my friends that day. But I mean, just Will Ferrell is perfect in this movie. Just it's like they crafted all these perfect scenarios for his vibe that he brings of this grown man with a child's brain that he's so good at. This is the perfect plot for that can be sweet and and heartfelt and just do all these moments with such sincerity that are so ridiculous. And then the whole thing kind of filled with great actors, whether you got Bob Newhart or Zooey Deschanel kind of before she really broke and kind of had established her exact personality, just sprinkled throughout the whole movie, and Mary Steinberg, and that just make for a movie that's so fun and just enjoyable to watch. Another one, you sit down, whether you're me in your 30s or my 3-year-old daughter, 1/10 as old as I am, and we can all watch it and laugh. And that's a great Christmas movie and a great family movie. I mean, you can watch this one in July and still laugh out loud at it. So one of those, like I said, special movie to me that just thoroughly enjoy. But coming in at number 2 is Home Alone, the original one. This is so tough for me. How do you pick between some of these movies that I love and think are special movies, and one of the most special Christmas movies of all time, starring one of the greatest childhood actors of all time, Home Alone. And I think what makes this movie special is that on paper, if you just took the premise of it, you can see how this would just be another throwaway kids movie about kids left home alone and sets booby traps to get the criminals. And that's what the movie is, except it transcends its basic premise because the way they treated the material when they're getting John Williams to score it, and you're casting Joe Pesci like around the same time that he's doing Goodfellas, he does Home Alone. And you watch the two of them and it makes sense. It's not like, oh, he's embarrassing himself. No. Home Alone is even more iconic, and he's perfect in it. Like, it just fits so perfectly. And there's a bunch of things like that that just kind of elevate the movie above the premise and the basic source material. Then you throw in there, you got a guy like John Hughes working on the script, who's just one of the greats of that time period. And then one of those magic things that happens of perfect casting in Macaulay Culkin, in that you can't set out to cast one of the great childhood actors. You don't know. You just do an interview and like, oh, this kid seems like he's got a charm and charisma to him. And the pieces of the universe came together that this movie got Macaulay Culkin, and really was the one that launched him full on to stardom. I mean, he'd been in stuff before this, and then Home Alone came out and he became the childhood legend. And here we are over 25 years later, and I watched this movie, and my daughter's going, where's Kevin? Like, I love Kevin, and my son loved Kevin. And so we tried to put on Home Alone 3, and we're like, yeah, but Kevin's not in this one. They started crying, like, what? Why can't we watch the one with Kevin? And that's not because Kevin's like this amazingly written character. That's because there's something about Macaulay Culkin that was just special and made Home Alone a very special movie, and Home Alone 2 a very special movie, that have just connected with audiences for almost 30 years now. And so that it's just one of those movies that's kind of like that. And you throw like John Candy's in the movie, so many things that just make it special, and it's heartfelt, and it really cares about it. It doesn't just go for all the cheap laughs. The actual traps at the end, that's the big hook for the movie. I mean, that's like 12 minutes of the movie. You're talking about an hour and 40-minute movie. 12 of it is kind of the big hook. And my 3-year-old daughter doesn't put the movie on, she doesn't put any movies on. When we put the movie on, she doesn't go, can we just skip ahead to the end? She wants to watch it from beginning to end. Like, she can connect with this story. That's a special movie that can, once again, connect with me in my 30s and my daughter who's 1/10 my age at the same time. And once again, that's why this is one of those special movies for me. And like I said, I'm this perfect age for this movie as someone that was, about the same age as Macaulay Culkin when it came out. I was the target age, and it succeeded. And here's the crazy thing about the Home Alone movies. Home Alone only has like a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Home Alone 2 only has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is bonkers to me that that's a thing that's happened, but it apparently is. But coming in at number 1 on my list, we have a very special Christmas movie, Die Hard. Die Hard is coming in number 1. This is not one I sit down with the family and watch. This is one that every year my wife demands that we watch, or it's not Christmas time yet. So every year we watch Die Hard. Now, some people would argue it's not a Christmas movie, and I don't see how that would be true. It's a movie that centers around a Christmas party. There's Christmas imagery throughout the entire thing, and there's Christmas music throughout the movie, in which case you've got a movie set around a Christmas event with Christmas music. It's at Christmas time. That sounds like a Christmas movie to me. I mean, if you can have movies about awful people that want to avoid their family, that can be a Christmas movie. And you can have one about a guy killing Santa Claus can be a Christmas movie. Why can't a movie about a guy trying to spend Christmas with his wife at a Christmas party. Why can't that also be a Christmas movie? Anyway, as to why this movie's great, I think this is it's a movie that's, besides perhaps some things that are, it's 30 years old, so some things dated about some elements to it. Besides that, this is a movie that almost perfectly captures exactly what it was trying to do. And that's kind of the best you can expect from a movie to be the perfect version of the movie it's trying to be, in which case, at the time it came out, I would say it was a perfect version of the movie it was trying to be. The script is so well crafted that each little line at the beginning of the movie makes sense and is kind of fun, as they're like John McClane's on a plane having some witty dialogue back and forth with people about, being afraid of flying and some tricks and stuff to like kind of get rid of the tension. That itself, that is important to the plot. It's pivotal to the plot. Things that people remember about the movie is that he doesn't have shoes on. That goes to a line of dialogue. The whole movie is designed like this, where these little moments that you see in the beginning that are setups for everything that happens later. It's like a perfectly crafted script. John McTiernan directs the movie flawlessly. I mean, every scene is as exciting, as intense, emotional, as heartfelt as it's supposed to be. This is a movie that gave us one of the great action heroes in Bruce Willis's John McClane, and it's a movie that gave us one of the great action villains in Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber. And just the fact that you have a movie that has both of those things. This is a virtually perfect movie. This is easily a 10 out of 10 type of movie for me. Actually, kind of this one, Elf, Home Alone, they're all kind of 10 out of 10 movies for me for very different reasons. But as it's a movie that does include the line, ho, 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 now I have a machine gun, that just sounds like a Christmas line. It sounds like someone got a Christmas present of a machine gun to fight terrorists in a building at the Christmas party. This is obviously a Christmas movie, and it's a great movie, and it's a movie that I cannot call it a Christmas until we have watched Die Hard. Speaking of that, we actually haven't watched Die Hard yet. We're going to watch it earlier this week, and we ended up doing a Pitch Perfect marathon. So maybe tonight after the kids go to bed, we'll be watching John McClane take out some terrorists. So there you have it. There's my list of the 7 Christmas movies that we watch every single year. 5 of them are excellent. 6 of them are good. 1 of them somehow snuck into our list. I don't know how. How about you? What are your movies that you watch every single Christmas? And the one that probably I thought about adding, but it's not true, was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Almost put that one in here, but we don't watch it every year. My wife doesn't like Clark Griswold. My wife doesn't like Clark Griswold, and so she doesn't want to watch it as often. I would watch it every year. It was Sean's just picking movies. Sean would have it on there, but she shoots that one down, so unfortunately, no Christmas Vacation. Also, I told you that I want to hear your thoughts on the best and worst movies of the year, and the way you can do that is using the Stardust app. And if you don't know what the Stardust app, it's just an app, totally free. It's in the Apple and Android store. You can get it at the link down below in the description. It's an app that makes it super easy to record 30-second reactions to TV shows and movies. You just select the movie, hit record, talk about it for 30 seconds, and then you just share it right on to the app and other people can see it. Super duper easy. So if you want your picks for best and worst movie of the year to appear, download the app, totally free, down at that link down below for your smartphone, and then follow me, download it, follow me on there, and I'll follow you back. Third one, tag me in a comment. Make a comment and say @SeanChandler. That's my username on there, so I can actually see it. It'll show up in my little feed, and I'll definitely see that you want it included. And then coming in the next few days, I'll have my best and worst list, and hopefully your pretty face will appear in there. So I would love to get your take on it and get some different people's takes on best, worst, all that fun stuff. And if you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, ranking videos. Sometimes I do Christmas specials like this one. We're talking about my own personal family traditions, even though that includes 4 Christmases, which it probably shouldn't. But I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk about movies with you. So join me in the comment section, download that Stardust app, and so I'll see you on Stardust, and thank you so much for watching.